Are the Twins choking? We will explore that question and preview the rest of the regular season here on the Chin Music Show. This is part of TalkNorth.com. Lineup is usually Roy Smalley, LaVelle E, Neal III, and myself, Jim Souhan. Roy is out of pocket. LaVelle and I, who have been covering the Twins, since 1993. LaVelle took over the beat from me after I switched to feature writing and column writing. LaVelle has been covering the team since 98, right, LaVelle?
That's right.
That's right.
Correct.
So we've been around this team a lot. We have seen dramatic comebacks. We haven't really seen many collapses, but there was one 2 years ago, and that one was caused mostly by injuries. Let's get into what's going wrong for the team right now as they head into Boston and try to find a way to make the playoffs at this point. Chin Music is coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We also want to thank not only Aquarius Home Services, but also Minnesota Masonic Charities and True Vision Institute. Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. We appreciate you helping us get so far with our network. The best way to listen to this show or any show you like at TalkNorth.com. Please subscribe at your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. And you should know the lineup by now. Russo and LaPanta on hockey, Kevin Gorg on hockey, Mike Grimm on the Gophers, Randy Shaver's new high school football show that you can also access on YouTube. This show is our baseball show. We have John Krasinski on the Wolves, John and myself on the Viking Update Show, Jeff Diamonds, Vikings and NFL Insider, John Millay on Preps, outdoor content. Check it all out. We do appreciate it. All right, LaVelle. Royce wrote a good column comparing this to the 1984 team where Gary Gaetti said it's hard to throw to first base when you have two hands wrapped around your own neck. Is this team choking or is this team just too injured?
I'm leaning toward too injured right now. And I was thinking about this from a historical standpoint because you may have other instances. I remember the 2001 team that started out 50-31, and they were cooking at midseason. And then Christian Guzman got injured. A couple other things happened. I think they started like a rookie in St. Louis in the big series. They shouldn't have done. That seemed more like a collapse because they stopped doing. They were just getting clobbered. I think they're just losing games and not even being very competitive. And once Guzman was out of line, it seemed like it took a lot of steam out of them. I just watched a series in Cleveland in which the Twins were in all four games. I think they were leading in the eighth inning in first three games or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Cleveland came back and walked them off a couple times. So, and that's the division champion Cleveland Guardians now. So the Twins are doing enough to keep these games close. They're doing enough to battle. They're a timely hit or a timely pitch away from at least splitting or if not taking 3 out of 4 here. And then we would be feeling a lot better about the Twins' chances going into Boston. But I think it's more about injuries, lack of continuity, players not being informed because they've been banged up and all that stuff here. So no, I don't look at this as a choking. I don't think we're witnessing a big choking. I just think that they're just short in a lot of areas, just a little short, but they're still competitive.
They are competitive. They also are not scoring runs and not getting many big hits. Now, Carlos Correa, I think it was on Wednesday night, did get big hits and they didn't matter. But I tell you one thing. Let me read you Royce Lewis's OPS month to month.
Uh-oh.
And one of them, and the first one's skewed because he only played in one game, but April, 3.5. Now, okay, he played in one game. June, 972. July, 857. August, 707. September, 613. I think when Royce Lewis plays the way we expect Royce Lewis to play and hits grand slams and gets the big hit and wants to be the guy up, I think everybody else on that roster relaxes a little bit and just lets things happen. With Royce slumping, and Wallner just went through a major slump, and Miranda's falling off the table, and Castro's playing like he's tired, I think they really need Royce Lewis to be magic Royce Lewis, and he hasn't been, and I think that's killing him.
Well, if that's the case, they're in big trouble because I think Royce could use a break right now.
Yep.
I think he's played a stretch of baseball here after getting healthy, and he is getting himself out. He's chasing pitches, breaking balls down and away. He's getting behind in the count. He's easy to pitch to right now, and a lot of times you could use probably a mental break by taking a game or two off, but they can't afford it now because the playoffs are at stake. So you got to try to get him locked in for a week and a half here to see if they can turn the offense around. But, I mean, you're right, Jim. I'm sitting here looking at the last 12 games. The Twins have scored more than 4 runs once in the last 12 games. And, yes, Miranda's been getting himself out. Wallner, I still think is going to get a hit when he gets into the box. It's been up and down with him. Same thing with Larnick. Castro's is the most he's ever played. I think we're showing signs of that. Jeffers was brilliant for, 5 weeks and has slowly decreased in output ever since.
Mm-hmm.
This whole lineup across the board, and you may be right in that Royce is the linchpin to all this. He may be the rising tide that can lift the rest of the boats here before they sink in the harbor. Sorry, all the shipping analogies there, but I know, this is a challenge for the hitting coaches, to see if they can get these guys locked in and get these guys, taking better at bats, because it comes down to quality at bats. Now, they did face some good pitching in Cleveland, and Boston's not as strong as Cleveland is on the mound, so maybe this is the slump buster that the Twins need. I guess the Twins ran some numbers a couple of days ago, and Cleveland's bullpen's like one of the best in the last 30 years or something like that. How effective they've been in late games. And they saw it after the starter came out. These games stay tight, and the Twins cannot get much going offensively. Maybe that changes now. They've got Boston, they've got the Marlins, and then they got a reeling Baltimore team that I think has lost like 7 of 10. So this is their shot here to try to close the gap here. My big worry, too, is that I believe Detroit has 3 games against the White Sox for its final series of the regular season. And I'm looking at that going, man, if the race is down to a game, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Twins playing Baltimore.
At no point this year did I think we'd be sitting here talking about the fact that the Twins have the tiebreaker on Detroit.
I know. 7-6 the season series. They've slowly gotten better. Tariq Skubal, I remember Rick Anderson, the former Twins pitching coach, was the pitching coach in Detroit when Gardy was the manager. And he was telling me that Scuba has a live arm and has a chance to be really good. And Scuba's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year.
Yes.
So he has come around, and I think their daily lineup has stepped up here. I've seen Riley Green make some contributions to some of these other guys. And, A.J. Hinch is a good manager. He took the fall for Trash Can Gate, but he knows what he's doing. And it's been kind of a slow buildup, but the Tigers are better. And, Jim, let's face it, too. They're in the division with the White Sox. Everybody is like 12-1 against them in the division. I think maybe Detroit's not. But, no, I think Cleveland isn't. But I think Detroit and the Twins are both like 12-1 against the Chicago White Sox this year, which, they're like the slump buster for the AL Central, and they're the slump buster for everyone in baseball. So that definitely helps. But, man, I didn't see Detroit being this squad that was going to threaten for the postseason here mid-September. And no, I don't think the Twins saw it either. A lot of us didn't see it. So it's going to be interesting. And it's it's a great story in Detroit. Nothing gets a fan base energized than a team that's not expected to win suddenly is winning and also has a chance to make the postseason.
Yeah, and listen, Detroit has gone through so many hard times as a city. They've really reinvigorated their downtown area. They have great arts, music, ballparks, stadiums. You can walk around. Now they have Greektown and casinos. You can walk around down there. So I love it anytime a Detroit team wins. I'm a little surprised Detroit's winning now. I thought they were another year away. But, LaVelle, how Twins fans believe that the trade deadline is everything. Well, Detroit is winning because of all the great moves they made at the trade deadline.
No, yeah, right. They actually were sellers.
They sold Clarity, and they didn't bring anybody in.
No, they didn't. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here looking at their team stats here, and Riley Green's like the only guy in the lineup with an OPS over 800. Mm-hmm. So this might be one of those the whole is greater than the sum of the parts things here with this squad. Yeah, Flaherty was 7-5 with a 2.95. They moved him on. They probably would love to have him right now.
Yeah.
Wow, Scuba's 17-4. What a season he's having. And that means former Twin, I don't know if Kent is healthy or not, but Kenta Maeda is stiff in the postseason now. Man, that is just crazy. But for a change, there were years where the Twins were like the only team over 500 in the division, and now there's 4. Once again, yes, I know the White Sox are in the Central, and that matters. But at the same time, you still have to win the games. And the Detroit's emergence makes this something to watch here going forward. And hopefully, it will motivate the Twins ownership and front office, to keep building this roster up because this division is going to be kind of tricky here going forward.
Yeah. And we will talk much more about the poll ads and spending when the season is over. I would rather talk about just baseball right now. We will get to that a lot in the off season. It is fascinating. Detroit, you said, has like one guy in the lineup with an OPS over 800. Cleveland, I think, has 2 regulars in the lineup. I don't know where Naylor's OPS is, but of course, their third baseman is a wonderful player, maybe my favorite player in baseball. And then Naylor's had a good year hitting for power. They don't have a great lineup either. Both these teams pitch and get that one big hit you need. Right now, the Twins aren't getting that one big hit you need.
Yeah, and those teams aren't making mistakes, and there's not a lot of self-inflicted wounds either. And the Twins have been botched by that a couple of times here in recent weeks as well. That means they're getting timely hitting, and the pitching's keeping games close. And the Twins have kept games close, too. I mean, I think, everybody's going bananas over Rocco having to bring in Henriquez in that big spot there on Wednesday. But
hold your thought, LaVelle. That's a big topic. I want to get to that, but let's save that for the second segment.
Okay.
For right now, and that's what we call a tease in the podcasting business. Right now, we do want to thank Aquarius Home Services. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studios. We want you to know more about Aquarius Home Services.
Yes, fall is in full swing, and Old Man Winter will be visiting soon. Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Now is the time to make sure your furnace is ready for the winter ahead. And to help you prepare, Aquarius is offering a furnace peak performance check for just $29. Don't let Old Man Winter catch you by surprise. Schedule your furnace peak performance check today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Thanks also to a Minnesota company doing great work, Minnesota Masonic Charities.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
And we want you to hear what John Krasinski has experienced while working with True Vision Institute.
Yeah, I'm a brand new man, Jim, this week. If for listeners of the John Krasinski show over the last month or more, I've been telling you all about True Vision Institute in Bloomington. And we've been talking a lot about the help that they gave me in the consultation to figure out how to correct my vision once and for all, and all the process of going through it. Well, finally, last week, I was able to go in and have LASIK surgery at True Vision. And, I've talked to people who have had it before, and they all say how much it changes their lives. I'm like, all right, come on. Can it really be that good? And here I am, less than a week out from surgery. And I'm telling you, it is that good. For the first time since I've been in 4th grade, I don't have glasses or contacts to mess with. I don't have to worry about going in for, every year or two for vision checkups and for new glasses and putting hundreds of dollars into new glasses or new contacts. A contact gets ripped and I got to go replace that. The best thing about it is I wake up in the morning and I'm not fumbling around for my glasses, so I can see, check my phone, look over at my wife and see her face. Like I'm seen 100% clearly. And it happened almost immediately after the surgery. I went in for the surgery last week and I was a little nervous. You had a laser pointed at your eye. It's nerve wracking, but the people at True Vision were so welcoming and calming and comforting that it really took a lot of the anxiety away for me for the procedure itself. I was in and out in a little over an hour. The procedure itself actually only takes a couple of minutes. They do what they need to do to get your eyes fixed and they get you on your way. My mom gave me a ride home. I spent the night just kind of resting, sleeping. When I woke up the next morning, seeing 100% clearly. Could drive to my follow-up appointment, 20/20 vision. Everything was great. And I still am kind of walking around pinching myself right now that I can't believe I don't have glasses or contacts anymore. And Dr. Chu was absolutely phenomenal through the process. I was nervous. He has a very soothing, calming voice. He takes you through it very easily. He puts you at ease. He makes you feel comfortable when you're on the table getting the procedure done. And it just was really helpful for me in just kind of taking away a lot of the nervousness that I had about it. He was so easygoing and was so reassuring, and just talked me through everything. It only took a few minutes to get done. And then I was out the door and on my way. A week later, I feel great. I'm seeing perfectly. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. Go to chewvision.com and set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you. But honestly, I cannot speak highly enough about my experience there and about the results. It's just life-changing stuff.
So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Henriquez on the mound had a pretty good season when he'd been in the big leagues. His ERA was pretty low. He ends up giving a single up, and then he seems to lose it. That's the easy second guess is pitch anybody other than him. When I looked at who was available, he's probably the guy I would have picked. And I'm never going to be the person who says the manager should use Garth Jacks or Cole Sands when they're tired and they might be prone to injury. What's the goal here? Get to the postseason. Well, you get to the postseason and Jacks' arm is blown out. You ain't doing anything. So
correct.
It's the easy second guess because Henriquez gave it up. I'm not going to make that second guess. What did you think?
I'm not either. When I first said Henriquez, oh my goodness. And I went and looked and said, well, he's pitched a couple days in a row. He's pitched a couple days in a row. Yeah, Rocco's been real careful with Jacks this year, not pitching him like back to back or backing up innings with him.
The result was Jacks having an amazing year.
Yeah, but recently he's had to do that a couple times. So I guess that's playing in the back of Rocco's mind. And Jim, the one great thing about being a baseball writer is that it allows you to see this wonderful country, covering games on the road. And I turn on sports talk radio in all these towns, and there's one constant that connects all these communities is that fans bitch and moan about the batting orders and pitching decisions.
Yep.
When the Yankees were winning in New York, Joe Torre was getting ripped.
Yep.
When the Rays were going to World Series with Joe Madden was getting ripped for his decisions. Mike Scioscia was being questioned, and when he had the Angels going to World Series, it happens from coast to coast. And it's the classic low-hanging fruit, classic second guessing. You're not in the manager's shoes. You don't have to sit there and consider who's pitching well, who they have left, what the situation is. We don't know. One of those guys may be pitching with like a slightly sore hamstring or something else that could cause an injury to flare out. So all these factors going into making these decisions. So I can't calm down, get too mad on Rocco. I mean, it's funny, a couple of times he's pulled over have been met with disastrous results, one in Kansas City and one at home. And it's tough, but once again, it's hard for me to second guess a manager when he's got to get that bullpen to the postseason. And you tell me what Rocco's supposed to do with the group that he's got right now, without Justin Topa, without Brock Stewart. The left-handers have failed. The guy that Falvey traded for at the deadline was gone after a month. Cole Sands has been a revelation this year. Him and Jackson propped up this bullpen big time, but they do not have the depth that they thought they did at the beginning of the year. And Rocco's had to spin some plates here.
Now, I think that one of the things you and I know is that a lot of times when you go in the clubhouse to talk to people after a game and the bullpen has failed, you're like, why didn't they use this guy? Usually somebody will tell you, oh, well, that guy, his elbow's sore. They're being careful with him. There are times when the pitcher isn't feeling well and the manager doesn't want the opposition to know that. They're not going to tell you, so they just take the heat for making the decision they made without giving you the information on why they made it or not making that information public. That's
Correct.
one factor. I will say this, as much as I think that most manager second guessing is just simple second guessing. If I could adjust any of Rocco's tendencies, I would say when a pitcher's on the mound feeling really good and he's a veteran and you do have shortages in the bullpen, that's when I would probably let Ober go one more inning. I guess I'd rather have Ober. And there's a lot of data out there that says, hey, the fresh arm coming in is better than the guy throwing his pitches 85 through 100. But when you don't have a full stack of great bullpen arms because of injuries and failures, that's when I think I would let Ober go one more inning.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also point out too is that the only two guys Rocco is allowing to go past the sixth inning, into the sixth or past, has been Lopez and Ober. But Woods, Richardson, Fest, and Zebby, he's not. Those guys aren't even getting it through the fifth inning. And so you do that 3 days out of 5, your bullpen's going to get low on bullets here, and that's another consideration to who you're going to put in certain situations. Yesterday, Simeon Woods Richardson, that was his 17th no decision of the season. That leads Major League Baseball. And the other thing too that affects a lot of these decisions too, because you could argue that he should let the starters go in longer, but these guys are hitting like innings limits for the season.
Yep.
And I know Rocco's been worried about that the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially with Woods Richardson. And Bailey Ober just had his breakthrough year innings wise last year. So I'm sure they want to be a little careful about that. All of a sudden just pushing him too far as well. And in a league in which arms break down all the time, you can understand why teams are cautious. So, I don't necessarily like the way managers are handling the bullpens these days because of the data and pitchers coming out before they face a lineup the third time, just because in ramifications of starting that bullpen relay, because all you need is one mistake and the relay's all screwed up. But that's what the game is. It's the reality.
And obviously the Brock Stewart injury was major. He probably has the best stuff on the staff. If you have Duran, Stewart, and Jax, and then add in the way Cole Sands is pitched, you just might not need that many other relievers for high leverage situations. That hurt a lot. But when they signed Topa, or they acquired Topa, they really thought he was going to be a big factor this year. They thought he could throw a lot of innings, that he would offer a different look than their other power arms. He's more of a sinker ball pitcher. Getting 0 out of him is crushing.
Oh, no doubt, because look how much length that bullpen would have had with him healthy and being effective with that sinker, that movement he has in his fastball. It would have been huge for this team, and it would have been able. Rocco would have been able to go to his bullpen with more confidence and more frequently because you had guys like Topa and Stewart around, and that's a huge factor. And now look how many different players they've tried. They traded for the Trevor Williams guy, which was a disaster. Henriquez has been called up. Josh Stomont was another guy they thought they could have. He could be like a comeback player in terms of getting healthy and regaining that 95-mile-an-hour fastball you have with the Royals. But that didn't work out. And here's the thing too, and I talked to Falvey about this. He's right. The one position on the team that's the most volatile from year to year is the bullpen.
Yep.
Some guys are consistent for 2 or 3 years, but a lot of guys are up or down. You can have a bullpen that's great one year and a disaster the next. And the Twins, the bullpen's not a disaster, but it's not great. And that has hurt them when they've needed a big pitch late in games.
The interesting thing about Stomont is he was spectacular until early to mid July. And then he hit a wall and he just started giving it up. But he only had one outing that was just really god awful. That was against the Mets on July 29th, 5 runs and a third of an inning. Before that, he was trending down a little bit, but hadn't really given up that badly. But man, they cut him end of July, and now you wonder if he might have actually been somebody who could have helped a little bit.
I know. I haven't tracked him since he left the Twins, but
yeah,
I'm sure
I don't think anybody. And you know what? I don't think anybody else picked him up. So maybe there's something more going on there. Maybe they know more about it than we do. He had pitched well enough, long enough that I thought he would have gotten a little more leeway. But as I said, nobody else has picked him up, so there must be something else going on there.
And their left-handed situation has really hurt them too. Caleb Thielbar is a great story. The kid from Randolph, Minnesota, left baseball for a couple years, came back and went to Driveline, smooth out his mechanics, throwing 97 with a great breaking ball. But he's no spring chicken, and he showed at times this year. He has struggled at times this year, unlike he has in previous seasons. But that they thought they had a good setup there with Steven Okert and Cody Funderburk. And Funderburk got injured. Okert got really ineffective. I mean, he was coming in and immediately giving up runs. Jim, I think the Twins actually, now I remember, I think they lead them. I think they're like one of the worst in baseball in the inherited run they're scoring. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that's more deflating to a team when you're either the game is tied or you've got a lead and the bullpen comes in and gives up runs. But I also, off the top of my head, it's countless number of times where either 2 men on or the bases are loaded and these guys are coming in trying to clean up someone else's mess. And it's tough. It's tough, but they've had, like I said, going back to the lefty situation, it has not been as solid as the Twins have planned either, and that's definitely hurt them.
No doubt about it. All right, LaVelle's going to give his final thought once again. This is talknorth.com. You can check out everything at the website, see all of our shows and all of our sponsors. You can subscribe to any show you like at your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Thanks to Aquarius Home Services, Minnesota Masonic Charities, and True Vision Institute. And thanks to LaVelle for his work. What's your final thought for the day?
Jim, I remember when the Twins were in L.A. to play the Angels, I want to say it was pre-COVID. It was either 5 or 6 years ago. It was the first game of the series, and the Twins bus pulled up at the ballpark in Anaheim, and players were racing to get dressed. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And they all want to run out on the field and watch Shohei Ohtani take batting practice. They wanted to see what made him so special. And I was thinking about that yesterday as I was trying to get some work done. I had an appearance, and I'm sitting there watching a box score from the Dodgers game last night against the Marlins. And I'm watching Ohtani just go bananas. You and I find it scary, exhilarating, amazing that I might have been alive, and you might have been alive, for when the greatest single game performance in Major League Baseball history was pulled off by this guy. 6 for 6, 3 homers, 2 steals, I believe 2 doubles. That is ridiculous. And he's now not just a 50-50 player, he's a 51-51 player. I think the moment that he charged through that barrier will never be forgotten. I texted Roy. I said, Roy, I'm sorry if you're not in the country, but did you see Ohtani? And that's all I said. He replied, I really can't even fathom what that accomplishment is and what it means. And that was his response.
That's great.
We just witnessed something that's never, ever happened. It may never happen again.
Yeah, and how about we're talking here on Friday and Thursday night, Ohtani had like 2 homers, 2 stolen bases, 6 hits. So he's I don't know how to describe him. I mean, it's like watching Babe Ruth if Babe Ruth was like a really finely tuned athlete.
And the power is like to all fields. It's left, center, and 450-foot bombs to right. And the stolen bases thing. And I know, if you want to steal like 50 bases or get up in that realm, you got to start stealing third. And he's stealing third. Yep. This is remarkable. And it's not out of the possibility. It's not out of the it's not out of reach that he may pitch in the postseason. He's been on the mound. Why would you do that to him now when he should be focused on getting ready for October baseball at the plate? But he's like throwing off a mound now. Are they going to be comfortable throwing him out there for an inning? This could be wild. Man, he's been great for baseball. And yes, he's worth $700 million.
Whatever happened to the gambling allegations? Do we think there's no basis and they've died because of that, or are we all just waiting for the FBI to finalize an investigation?
Well, his interpreter is taking the fall for it. So regardless if it's true or false, or if he's just, like I said, taking a fall for Ohtani, he's going to be the guy having to pay back the money and do jail time. So that's the last thing we've heard about this caper here. I just found it really interesting that this guy could go into Ohtani's account and pull out $200,000. I got a buddy who has a small business. He's like, when I try to take out a $10,000 loan, I have to jump through like 27 different hoops, So that's one of the crazier things that's happened in baseball recently, and it's Ohtani related. I mean, the publicity, good and bad, that this guy has brought to this league is amazing.
No doubt about it. It's going to be a fascinating postseason. I hope the Twins are a part of it. We'll be talking next week about that scenario. Thanks to LaVelle. Thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.